We're joined by Mike Pompeo, Senior Counsel for Global Affairs here at the ACLJ. Secretary Pompeo, I did want to just start off because we have been spending the last 2 months doing the Life and Liberty Drive fundraiser for the ACLJ. And I want to say thank you for all of your help during it. And obviously, a thanks to everyone who gave and everyone who supported. But we are seeing right now what's happening on our college campuses, but we saw what happened last night at Columbia. Obviously, the NYPD took action, and I guess that big question is, what took so long?
Look, I think that is an important question. I'm glad it happened when it did. I wish that it happened when the law breaking had begun. There is an enormous wellspring in these universities that is consistent with this understanding of anti-Semitism. So I think, first of all, the administrations were sympathetic to these thugs, to these people who broke the law. Second, I think because you have no national leadership, what you see happening all across the country, everyone's focused on New York. I get it. Great pictures from Columbia, right, about what was actually going on. But this is now happening all across the country. And you have President Biden sitting in the basement of the White House, not saying a single word about the threat to our democracy, the fact that these folks ran Palestinian flags up the flagpole and took down the American flag. That is a national challenge. With American leadership, national leadership from the White House, I am confident that this would have ended sooner. And then finally, you have to ask, why hasn't President Biden spoken? I think it's pretty clear. He is worried about angering his base. The handful of radical pro-Hamas leftist progressives have now taken control of the Democrat Party. And this will have impact not only at the national level, but all across the country. You can see Democrats cowering because they now believe that they are going to be attacked by these pro-Hamas people who are so far out that I don't even think President Obama would have abided by this. But President Biden has decided hook, line, and sinker to go down that path.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. And it seems like some of these universities, they were caught in a weird spot where they felt like they couldn't shut this down earlier, where maybe they were scared. They didn't know what to do. And honestly, it seems like they went from scared to, how did this happen? Very quickly. They went from, oh, we'll let them set up some tents. This will go away in a day, in 2 days. And then all of a sudden, this is where it ends up with the NYPD having to essentially storm in, arrest hundreds of people, some students. Some of the universities have to wake up to also what's going on their own campuses.
Look, I actually think they knew. I think they knew that some of this was their students, but that some of this was being funded, underwritten, organized, trained by outside forces that have been part of protest movements all across the country, bad actors who are truly trying to undermine our very republic. I think they saw that. I think the police forces knew that and were telling them. I saw the NYPD briefing this morning. Clearly, they were aware that this wasn't just a bunch of young kids who'd gotten together at their local club and decided, hey, let's go take over a building. And then they became petrified that the response, if something happened while the law enforcement people were rightfully taking back the property of the University of Columbia, that they would be held accountable for that. That's a mistake. That's the same mistake President Biden is making in Gaza today. Concerned that if the Israelis actually do the task that's needed to do to secure their nation, just like these presidents should have secured their campuses, these are deep parallels. And this is a national challenge that President Biden has to step up and say, we are going to stop terrorists, whether we find them on our college campuses or if the Israelis find them killing 1,000 of their people and still holding Americans hostage. We're going to support the people who are the good people, and we're going to crush evil wherever we find it.
Mr. Secretary, you referenced that NYPD press conference this morning, and they did share a lot of intel. It seemed that they knew specific people that were there that were outside agitators. But it struck me that Mayor Adams, who he himself was former NYPD commissioner, that he seems to be one of the lone Democrat voices, other than some members of Congress, that are really speaking out about what he's seeing here. And he even said that I'm going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally. There's a movement to radicalize young people. Do you think he's right in that assessment of what he's seeing?
100%. And sadly, I say this as a sadly, it's pretty courageous for him to say that as a Democrat. Shouldn't be courageous to say something like that, to acknowledge what's really taking place on our campuses, that this is a national effort underwritten globally. These protests, I am confident, will spread to European campuses as well. We'll probably see it all across the world. For him to say that is good. He found his voice when he talked about putting the American flag back atop that flagpole. I think he found his voice. This shouldn't be partisan. This shouldn't be about politics. This should be about the fundamental right for people to exercise their freedoms. But when they cross the line, when they threaten other students, when colleges have to respond by canceling graduation or closing campuses, and they did begin to destroy property and deny the other students their right to get an education, that's no longer about free speech. This is about the rule of law. And for him to step up today and say he supports that is great. I can't wait to see Senator Schumer, President Biden echo those same remarks. I suspect we likely won't.
The Biden administration also, Secretary Pompeo, has started to kind of float the idea that they may want to resettle some of the refugees from Gaza into the United States. Obviously, there's a lot of going to be conflicting thoughts on that, but I wanted to get your thoughts and your reaction to it.
Absolutely nuts. There's a reason that the Jordanians won't allow these people to cross into their country. There's a reason the Egyptians have said, no, thank you. Not a single refugee from Gaza is going to be permitted to come into our country, because these people are dangerous and you can't vet them and you can't figure out who just the ordinary families who are trying to flee for a better life are and who the members of Hamas are. And that absence of capacity to vet will be something we can't do either. And so to even contemplate allowing potential terrorists to come into our country is dangerous. It is fraught. By the way, it encourages Hamas to continue their terror, because if they can have some of these people leave, that frankly, if some of the families leave, they'd be happy to do that. They want more people inside of that place who are aligned with them. And if someone decides they want to flee, so be it. Hamas has every intention of coming out of this conflict with Israel, the conflict that they began on October 7th. They think they're going to win because the Biden administration continues to accommodate and appease instead of supporting Israel in its effort to rid this world of these Iranian-supported terrorists.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Secretary Pompeo. And again, thanks to all of you who are watching right now, because you get to hear these incredible voices because of your support. And again, right now, it's just me telling you thank you, because we had such an amazing couple months, an amazing month of April, really, during a time when I know the economy could be stronger. We could have a better situation happening around the world. You guys show up when needed the most. Let's go to Bill in Wyoming. He's always watching, always listening. We appreciate you, Bill. You're on the air.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I remember the student protests back when I was in high school, where they were taking over the college campuses. All that happened back then just makes that look like a peaceful picnic compared to what's happening today. And I got to tell you, I'm definitely pro-Netanyahu because of that.
Yeah, Bill, I mean, obviously there was the protests. I mean, I was not around, but I've seen obviously plenty of videos of the protests that happened, following Vietnam and all of those situations.
And the difference with those is that they at least were protesting a war that the United States was in.
Right.
And you could at least, whether or not you agree with the sentiment, at least they were saying, like, I don't want to be sent to war.
Right.
This one, they're just saying effectively that they hate Israel and the Jewish people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit different there. But Bill, I did see, it was like a meme that popped up and it said something in fact, and I believe it's kind of true. And it said something to the effect of metalheads are nice people cosplaying as mean people, and hippies are mean people cosplaying as nice people. And I think that's what we're seeing right now on these college campuses. Why? Because you got the lead singer of Disturbed out there saying, we got to support Israel. You got the creators of Entourage going out there saying, we got to support Israel. And on the other side, you got Susan Sarandon out there saying, the babies in ovens didn't happen. That's just propaganda. Again, like you said, why are we even getting involved? Why would you even want to make that statement? That is so insane.